Hello everybody and welcome in the Udacity training season. Today we're going to speak about Jupyter Notebook and how to use it in data. The Jupyter Notebook, the first thing you need to know about Jupyter Notebook is how to open the Jupyter Notebook. So the first thing you need to do is go into your command prompt and writing Jupyter Notebook. Make sure you already have it on your computer and you install it correctly. After you press enter here, you're going to be redirected to the Jupyter Notebook. You can open a new file, a Python new file, to get redirected to the Jupyter Notebook to write your code. The Jupyter Notebook consists of two main cells here, the markdown and the code cells. As you can see here, this is a markdown cell. If you press 2 times on that, you can see inside an HTML code that is structure how it looks like if I press shift enter. If I press shift enter in any cell, it means I am asking the kernel to execute this cell. As you can see here, a new cell has been created, and it's usually by default a code cell. So I can write code here. Okay. I can also change this cell to a markdown, which means I can write text, as you can see here, but I don't need it right now. Okay, so I will turn it back to code. Okay, so what we're going to speak about here in Jupyter Notebook, we're going to import libraries, read CSV file, and pandas data frame. Also, we're going to take a look on the data frame on the Jupyter Notebook. Also, we're going to make some statistics operations like getting the mean, median, and the describe of the data frame. Okay, so the first thing we're going to add a comment here that we're going to import libraries in this cell. It makes it easier for people after us to know what we are doing in the Jupyter Notebook. So here I'm going to import some libraries. I'm not going to use it all, but for you to know how to add different libraries. I'm going to add NumPy. As you can see, the as MP and the as PD is the way to shortcut the library to use it easier in our code. And here, so I have imported NumPy, Matplotlib, and pandas. And here I'm going to add an inline for Matplotlib. This magic command tells the Jupyter Notebook that I need the visualization to be visible in the Jupyter Notebook. We are not going to make any visualization right now, but for you to know. So the first step I need to do is read the CSV file. So I'm going to define a new variable and read the CSV file using the pandas library. Make sure to add quotes and then the file name inside. So our file is called the student score.csv. Don't forget the extension of the file, nor the quotation. Now we're going to press shift enter and it's now executed. And you can see now, if you see this number, it means the cell has been executed. Okay, now we have this data frame and we can now take a look on the data. If I write here df and press shift enter, I can see all the rows in the data frame. It's not a good idea to use df like that way, but since we have a small data set, as you can see, we only have 5 rows here, which means it's no problem. But if you can imagine if we have a million data set rows, if I write df here, you can see million rows directly under each other here, and it will make this file hard to use. So in most cases we use df.head. This function only pulls the first few rows, so that you can get an idea about the header. And you can see here the data. It's for students, names, attendance, score, homework, test 1, project 1, test 2, project 2, and the final grade. So what if I need to take a look on the data, the last data? So the last few rows you can use tail function. It gives us the last few rows, and since this is like a small data set, you may don't notice a difference because it's already 4 or 5 rows, but usually tail gives us the last few rows of the data set. Okay, now after we took a look on the data, we need to use other function and to understand more of the data we have. So if I press to use this function info, this function gives us an overview of the columns names, as well as the values and how many non-values, as well as the type of every column. So the ID column has 5 value and none has 5 non-null values, which means, if you can tell here, we have a total of 5 rows, and you can see that from here. Range index. So we have 5 entries, okay? And if your ID is 5 non-null values, which means it has no empty rows, no empty cells, I mean. It also tells us about the type of this column, which is integer, as well as the other column. Name has 5 non-null values and its object. You can tell that it's on a string because you can see here text, but in pandas data frame, string is always defined as an object, so don't worry about that. You can see here also attendance is 5 values, non-null, float as a type of this column. So these data gives us an overview of the data set we are investigating to know if there is like empty rows, if the data has the right data type or not. Okay. What if we need to get more into the details and understand our data statistically? So we can use the function describe. This function gives us an overview of the data from the statistic side. So you can see that the first row here is a count. How many tells us how many values in each column. The second one gives us the mean of each column. So the final here is 88, which means the average of all the students' final grade is 88. Here is also the standard deviation for every column and the minimum value. So the minimum value, the student got 82 in the final grade. This is the minimum student grade. Here 25%. So 25% of people of the population, which are the students here, got 84 grade. And 50% of the population got 88 or less. Okay, you gotta. Okay, so it's 88 grade in the final or less. 75% of the population got 91 grade or less, and the max value that a student got in the final grade is 85. So this gives us an overview about every column, and it's the same for other columns. So for the project 1, the max the student got in the project 1 got 100%. So this gives us an overview about the data and the students' evaluation. One other thing that you can use these functions independently. So if I need to know the mean for the data frame, I can write the mean function. The mean function pulls all the data means for all columns. And what if I need to do this for one column only? I can write df and write the column name in here, like final for example, and then write the function mean. And now it's 88. As you can see here, it's 88 here, 88, so it's correct. Don't forget that the Python here is sensitive for capitalization, so never write a different capitalize. So if I write here final for the column name, I will get an error saying that there is no column with the name final. So I have to write it exactly as it says, as is stated. So final. Okay. Same for the median. I can write the median that way, as well as writing the median for a specific column, like that way, and as well as writing the column name here. So for this time, let's use like the test one, and as you can see, it's 87 for 7. Okay, you can also use these data, these function for every column if you want, or use a describe to get an overview of all the data in the Jupyter Notebook. So this was an overview of the Jupyter Notebook and how to use simple functions, and how to read CSV files, how to look at the data and investigate it in different ways, as well as doing some simple operations statistically on the file. I hope you understand our lesson today, and I hope you a good journey in your learning in Udacity Nano Degree. Okay, have a good day everyone, and goodbye.